That's right, Sally, that's right. We're gonna say, that's Sally. That's Sally.
And I'm gonna say, I've never appreciated yours.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, is there a holiday that I missed? I don't know.
We've got it, right?
Okay. Oh, yes.
Before I ring the third bell, I'd like to encourage everyone to kind of scooch together a little bit, like you like each other and know each other. We're so spread apart today, so if you can easily come forward and into the middle, please do that. It'll be nice. It's like so disparate. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Parish in Brookline, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Lisa Underhill. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm honored to be your worship associate today. Our service will be led by our interim minister, the Reverend Joe Cherry. We are so glad you are all here this morning and extend a special welcome to anyone who may be here for the first time. However you identify, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. For children and families, I just want to point out there are stuffed animals in the back of the church where you entered, and under the rocket ship in that corner, there are toys and coloring supplies, and we have professional nursery care downstairs until 12:45 p.m. We hope you will join us after the service for coffee and conversation right down the hall through the door right over here. And I want to draw your attention to the insert in your order of service, which has a calendar of upcoming events. There's a few that I want to highlight in particular. Today, after the service at 12:30, there will be a congregational meeting to discuss the budget for next year. So we hope that you can go to that and be part of that important conversation. And also, please put on your calendar, May 17th is our annual meeting. Again, it's really important that you be there, that your voice be heard, that you can participate in that important meeting. And also, the worship committee cordially invites you to consider joining us, to consider doing a summer service. I speak from my own experience. It is a wonderful committee. It is very, very rewarding. And we need people. So please reach out to anyone on the committee. All the names are in the order of service. And I believe Kay has an announcement also?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to remind everybody that next Sunday, Mother's Day, we are participating in the annual Mother's Day Walk for Peace. I'm hoping that a lot of families will join us. We'll meet at 8 a.m. in Dorchester at the walk, and we should be back in time for service. And today we are going to be having the kids make signs for that march next week, so it should be really fun. Hope to see you there. Thanks.
Thank you, Kay. Once again, welcome one and all. It is a blessing to be together.
Hi there. I would like to call us into worship today while I light these two candles. These candles have had different symbols for different people since I arrived here and long before. But today I'd like them to symbolize peace and hope, things that we sorely need in our world today. So as I call you into our place, our time together, where we carve out a little time to attend to our spirits, let us keep peace and hope present with us and for each other as we struggle to make the world a better place. I invite you now to come together to sing, filled with loving kindness, of which we walk over and
As Sue Colt comes forward to light the chalice, please join in reading our community covenant in your order of service, first in Spanish and then in English. Nos entregamos y nos comprometemos a caminar juntos como congregación, prometiendo con mucha fe cuidarnos mutuamente y deleitarnos en el amor que permanecerá entre nosotros. We give ourselves one unto another, covenanting to walk together as a congregation, promising faithfully to watch over one another and to delight for love to abide in our midst.
Good morning. I'm looking around to see how many young people are here. Okay, well, we have something that we often call the time for all ages. So we have a little participatory moment here, and if anyone would like to help, especially the young people, I'd like to invite you to go stand next to Tanya, who's right there. And also, anybody who raised their hand when I said young people has to stand near Tanya. And while people are gathering, I have this beautiful weaving. You can see it projected on the wall there. And the choir, no, I'm going to actually tuck it in because the women who make these weavings, this was made by my friend Faustina. The women who make these weavings tuck them in and use them like a skirt. So I'm going to do that right now. And while I'm doing that, look at the zigzag pattern up there. Let's see. Because it's a very popular thing to do a weaving with a zigzag. Have to spread it around just like that. Okay. Whoops. I'm falling apart. I have a belt. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you, my question, next slide, is, this is a question somebody sat down and asked me. When do you plant your corn? I've always wanted to know, when do you plant your corn? Could you think about that? When do you plant your corn? You plant your corn in the spring? Well, when this person asked me, I said, gosh, I don't really know much about planting corn. And have you ever seen a team of oxen? Okay, well, here's a guy who's driving a team of oxen to plant corn. Can you see it? And the oxen are pulling a wooden plow. Now, if you were a child living in the place where they make these beautiful weavings, you would know about oxen and planting corn, and you would know that springtime is the time to plant corn. So I'm going to ask the people who have gathered here to pretend that these blue X's on the floor are rocks, and we don't want to run our plow over the rocks. So I'm going to ask you to team up and walk towards me, but you're going to have to point at your goal, which is this chalice, and walk just as straight as you can, keeping kind of an equal distance between the sides. and walk as straight as you can without running over. You can't step over those. You have to walk around them, those obstacles. Pretend they're rocks. Don't break your plow, and don't kick the rock, because you won't feel very good if you do. You might chip your hoofs. I see someone doing a zigzag. Thank you. But as long as you kept pointing at your goal, you ended up in something like a straight line. And that's one way that people teach their children. They use these weavings to teach about going in a straight line and plowing. So next slide. Here's a man and his son. They're wearing beautiful weavings because they're part of the Ampara people. And the man is teaching his son to get ready to plow a field. Next slide. That's the plow, and it has a wooden part that pokes into the ground. You can see the plow is pretty big. Sometimes you have to partner. You have to partner with the earth, and you have to partner with the oxen to plow a field. Next slide. And you see he's teaching him to point at the guidepost. He uses some stones as a guidepost, and he says, make sure the oxen walk toward that guidepost. Next slide. And he's getting his son used to handling that plow. Next slide. He even lets him hold it and aim it in the direction of the guidepost. And next slide. And he teaches him to point to, he says, we're going to make some very straight lines. Next slide. And the mothers and the fathers teach about the fact that even when you're trying to go in a straight line, sometimes there are obstacles. And so you make a zigzag. They call that zigzag trenco. But as long as you keep going, you end up reaching the other side. Now, those people in the picture are friends of mine. The man on the right is Tata Casto. The woman on the left is Mama Julia. And the woman in the middle is their daughter, Monire. You can see she's wearing a funny hat, and I'm going to wear the same hat. This hat was made by the Ampara people in imitation, and maybe even to make fun of the Spanish soldiers that came and invaded their land. And young women wear these hats all the time. They wear them to go to market, and they've been wearing them for hundreds of years. Now, Casto and Julia were kept out of school because they wanted to wear their weavings to school, and they were told, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to wear your weavings. And by the way, your language is also not welcome. So their parents made their own school, and it was a school where you were allowed to speak your language. And they decided, next slide, they decided that they had things to teach, even though they didn't feel a whole lot of confidence with reading and writing. If you've been told for 400 years that you're not welcome in school, it's hard to learn to read and write. But Casto and Julia felt like they had something to teach. All of our kids have held books before. Next slide. This is the book that we wrote as a team. Casto and Julia wrote this book and published it. Next slide. There are their names as the authors. Next slide. And we wrote it in 3 languages. They wanted it to come out in English as well, so you can see 3 different languages there. It's in Quechua, Spanish, and English. That's called working on a team. Next slide. And the lesson, one of the lessons in the book is keep going forward on your path, even if you have to zigzag. That's life. Thank you.
We're now going to sing our kids out to their religious exploration classes. If you are a kid, you have 3 choices of what to do right now. You can stay here in worship, and we have toys and coloring supplies in the corner. You can come with Michael and I to talk about peace and make some art for peace, or you can go downstairs and play with Noreen in the nursery. All right, let's sing our kids out.
Let us take a moment to arrive fully where we are. You might close your eyes or just soften your gaze a bit. Notice your breath as it comes and goes, just as it is. Imagine for a moment that your life is a loom. Each moment, each thread, back and forth, creating a tapestry. Some of those threads are bright with joy. Some are rough with worry. Some so quiet, they're barely noticed. And yet all of them belong. All of them are woven together. We do not always see the pattern. Sometimes we have to zigzag to avoid the rocks. But we don't need to see the whole pattern for now. Just simply notice the thread in your hand at this moment. And meet it with a beginner's mind, not deciding what it is, not correcting or completing, just allowing it to be as it is. This breath, new. This moment, new. This gathering, never finished. So breathe. Allow yourself to be gently woven into this moment just as you are.
Our reading today is The Beauty of the Beginner's Mind by Jack Kornfield. The wisdom of uncertainty frees us from what Buddhist psychology calls the thicket of views and opinions. Quote, "Seeing misery in those who cling to views, a wise person should not adopt any of them. A wise person does not by opinions become arrogant. How could anyone bother those who are free, who do not grasp at any views? But those who grasp after views and opinions wander about the world, annoying people." I like to think that the Buddha said this last sentence with a laugh. Ajahn Chah used to shake his head and smile. "You have so many opinions, and you suffer so much from them. Why not let them go?" Freedom from views is like a cleaning of the glass, a breath of fresh air. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki calls this open-mindedness beginner's mind. Listen to Rachel Carson, the great naturalist, as she evokes it. Quote, "A child's world is fresh and new and beautiful, full of wonder and excitement. It is our misfortune that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision, that true instinct for what is beautiful and awe-inspiring, is dimmed and even lost before we reach adulthood. If I had influence with the good fairy who is supposed to preside over all children, I should ask that her gift to each child in the world be a sense of wonder so indestructible that it would last throughout life. When we are free from views, we are willing to learn. What we know for sure in this great turning universe is actually very limited. Seong San, a Korean Zen master, tells us to value this "I don't know" mind. He would ask his students questions such as, what is love? What is consciousness? Where did your life come from? What is going to happen tomorrow? Each time, the students would answer, "I don't know." "Good," Seong San replied. "Keep this don't know mind. It is an open mind, a clear mind." In close relationships, if we rely on assumptions, we lose our freshness. Whether as parents or lovers, what we see about those close to us is only a small part of their mystery. In many ways, we really don't know them at all. Through beginner's mind, we learn to see one another mindfully, free from views. Without views, we listen more deeply and see more clearly. For there are moments, says Rilke, when something new has entered into us. Something unknown. Our feelings grow mute in shy perplexity. Everything in us withdraws. A stillness comes, and the new, which no one knows, stands in the midst of it and is silent. And now is the time in our service when we invite your generosity to help pay for the good work of this community of faith and hope.
Hallelujah indeed. Thank you, choir. That was awesome. My name is Chiara Zani. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of the parish board, and on behalf of the parish board and Reverend Joe, we thank you for your generosity, and we see these generous gifts as a symbol of your trust in us, and we pledge to take that trust, carry it with us, and to act in accordance with our shared values. Thank you.
When I wrote, am I on? Nathan, you're trying to silence me. Why are you doing? Okay. So hi, everybody. When I first started this sermon, I originally titled it "Why Autocorrect Has Ruined My Life and Other Tales of Modernity." But I decided that wonder again sounded less angry, so I changed it. There are a few things more irritating and humbling than being betrayed by a machine that's supposed to be helping you. I meant to say one thing, something ordinary, thoughtful even, and instead I almost sent something else entirely, something stranger, sharper, or just wrong. Recently, I was talking to a friend, texting, and I wanted to say, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." And my phone, in its infinite wisdom, corrected that to, "Don't throw the baby out with a catheter." Which brought several questions. One of them was, how often do I type the word catheter? So the thing is, I caught it before I hit send, and I stared at it for a minute, slightly horrified, slightly amused, and then I fixed it. I corrected it. I restored it to what I meant to say. But I couldn't quite let the experience go, because something in me wondered, what if I hadn't caught it? Now, this is an old friend. We were friends for 30 years. They would have laughed, and that would have been it. But sometimes communications are more serious than that. What if the message went in the world to people who weren't one of my best friends, and it was wrong? What would people have heard? What would they have made of it? And more than that, why did this stay with me? Why did it feel not just wrong, but oddly vivid and memorable, almost meaningful? And that question, more than the mistake itself, is what led me to this morning. We live in a world that moves quickly. We text while walking, email while distracted, respond while half thinking. We are efficient communicators and often accidental ones. And into that speed steps autocorrect, a quiet, helpful presence, smoothing our language, predicting our intent, finishing our thoughts before we have quite finished them ourselves. Most of the time, I guess we're supposed to be grateful. I'm not, usually. But sometimes you're busy and things slip. A word is replaced, a phrase is altered, a sentence we thought we wrote becomes a sentence we did not write. And in that moment, we are confronted with something unexpected, a meaning we did not intend, but now must reckon with. A real-life example from just this week, Denis was trying to schedule a meeting with one of his congregants, and she asked if they wanted to meet on Tuesday or Thursday. He replied, Tuesday would be great. It was autocorrected to, today would be great. And so Elizabeth drove to church on Friday, not far, 10 minutes, but still she made a special trip, and when she got there and the door was locked, she called him to find out where he was. It wasn't a big deal, small inconvenience she promised him, but what if it had been a larger deal? My Gmail now tries to suggest an email response to every email I get. And I worry that if I use this, because I didn't type it and therefore didn't process it myself, I would never remember most of the conversation. Years ago in Cleveland, I preached a sermon about something called mondegreens. Do you know what a mondegreen is? Oh, good, we can learn today. A mondegreen is a misheard lyric that takes on a life of its own. The term itself comes from a Scottish ballad called The Bonnie Earl o' Moray, where the line, laid him on the green, was misheard as Lady Mondegreen. The term was coined by American writer Sylvia Wright in 1954 in Harper's Magazine, an essay called The Death of Lady Mondegreen. So here's the original lyric. There he slain the Earl o' Moray and laid him on the green. And what Sylvia heard, and had heard her whole life, was, they have slain the Earl o' Moray and Lady Mondegreen. So in her mind, Lady Mondegreen had also died. In this manner, Lady Mondegreen, who never, ever existed, nonetheless lived on. And once you start noticing these things, they're everywhere. Here are 3 examples from popular music, many which you might recognize. Excuse me while I kiss the sky becomes... Excuse me while I kiss the sky. Exactly. For those without a microphone, it becomes, excuse me while I kiss this guy. There's a bad moon on the rise becomes, there's a bathroom on the right. Hold me closer, tiny dancer becomes somehow, hold me closer, tiny danza. Which as a kid I found very confusing because he was on Taxi and I don't know what Elton John was singing about. Now these are mistakes. Objectively, they are incorrect, and yet they're also memorable, delightful, sometimes even more evocative than the original. So when I wrote this sermon years ago, I thought the sermon was about how easily we get things wrong. But I've come to wonder this time around if that's not the whole story. What if the deeper question and truth here is not what we mishear, but that we stop listening? And here's what I've been noticing. Autocorrect doesn't just live in our phones. It lives in our minds. Quietly, constantly replacing what is with what we expect. We finish people's sentences. We assume we know what someone means. We hear through memory, through habit, through story. We don't just listen. We interpret, predict, and correct. And this happens every Sunday in every church, whether I'm preaching or not. Because when I write one thing. When I speak, I hope I say what I wrote, but sometimes it's different, like right now. What you hear is a third thing, and what you take in is a fourth thing. And most of the time, we don't even notice we're doing it. I can't tell you, gratefully, how many times someone has said, you said this thing Sunday that was so amazing and meaningful to me, and I did not say it. It was not in my script. It was something that happened between here and there. And every time I'm so grateful it happened for you, or for me when it happens to me, but I didn't say that. This is what makes autocorrect so fascinating. It doesn't introduce something entirely foreign. It simply makes visible a process that was already happening. We are always, in some sense, auto-correcting reality. And that brings us to the idea at the heart of this reflection today. Which I just lost. Technology, why do you hate me? This is not loving me. Sorry. This is the Buddhist tradition called beginner's mind. That is what I wanted to bring up today. And so when Sue talked about weaving, and I knew that Sue was going to talk about weaving, beginner's mind and weaving came together for me. Beginner's mind is not about knowing nothing. I'm going to say that again because it sounds funny. Beginner's mind is not about knowing nothing. It is not about becoming naive or empty or unformed. It is about approaching the world as if we have not already decided what it is. It is the quiet discipline of saying, what if I let this be what it is before I decide what it means? Because the opposite of mishearing is not perfect hearing. The opposite of mishearing is the willingness to hear again. Beginner's mind interrupts that constant internal autocorrect. It asks us to pause just long enough to notice what is actually being said rather than what we assumed would be said. In conversation, that might mean not finishing someone's sentence in your head as you're speaking. In conflict, it might mean asking one more question. In our lives, it might mean noticing when the story we're telling ourselves is not the only story available. And this is where it becomes not just practical, but spiritual. Because sometimes what we didn't intend to hear is worth hearing. Sometimes the unexpected phrase, the misheard lyric, the strange substitution, the moment that doesn't quite line up, opens a door. Not always. Sometimes things are just mistakes. But not everything that is unintended is without meaning. Sometimes meaning arrives sideways. A phrase that makes us laugh and then think. A misunderstanding that reveals a deeper truth, a moment where the script slips and something more honest comes through. In a world that prizes speed and certainty, beginner's mind invites us into something else. Slowness, curiosity, attention. The willingness to say, I may have not heard that fully yet. The willingness to listen again. Not because we expect to be perfect, but because we are open to being surprised. Even, perhaps, by something as unlikely as a Lady Mondegreen or a baby in a catheter. So perhaps the invitation this morning is not to abandon clarity or to celebrate confusion for its own sake. It's simply this. You're invited to notice when we've already decided what something means. So today, just came to me now, when you talk about the budget, listen to this again. You're invited to notice when we've already decided what something means. Budgets are documents of meaning. So today, when you go to the budget meeting, don't go in thinking you already know what everything means. Be open to fluidity, what people ask, how things are expressed. Don't assume knowledge. I invite you to really be together during the budget meeting. To pause before we correct. To listen again. And in that small space between what we expect and what's actually there, to allow for the possibility of wonder. Amen. Please come together to sing our closing hymn, Dear Weaver of Our Lives, which is the great hymnal, number 22.
Please join in our unison affirmation, first in Spanish and then in English, as Reverend Joe extinguishes our chalice. Apagamos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, ni el calor de la comunidad, ni el fuego del compromiso. Estos los llevamos con nosotros y los ofrecemos para benedecir al mundo. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us and offer as gifts unto the world.
Go into a world that will speak quickly and often assume it already has been understood. Go with ears willing to listen again, with minds willing to pause before concluding, with hearts open to what arrives unexpectedly. May you notice the places where you've already filled in the blanks and find the courage to let them remain open just a moment longer. And in that space between what you expect and what is, may you discover something new, something true, something worthy of wonder. Go in peace, friends, and be safe.